And you've probably also gathered that this session is just a little snapshot of what's going on in every state. It's not a talk about what our state models are. So you'll find that there's a lot of repetition of issues, what's working, what's not working in each of the states. And hopefully you'll sort of get to identify who the key people are and use this as an opportunity to network and talk about some of the things that are working or not working for you. So I'm Jan Williams from the Refugee Health Service in South Australia, and we've had a pretty good year actually. We lucked in with the HSP provider, so we've got AIMS, and despite the sort of overall slimness of this tender, they're actually doing quite a good job, and we're pretty happy with them, aren't we? I mean, I think they're really, the team that we've got in South Australia are a great bunch, and they've got a lot of commitment and their heart's in the right place. So we're working very well with them. I have to say we're really also benefiting from the interstate transfer form that RNA developed. That's really worked for us. So making those sort of warm referrals with clients that we're either getting from other states or sending to other places, it's been really good. So if you don't know about that form, get on the website and have a look at it because it's really useful. We've also really benefited from some funding through the Primary Health Network in South Australia that for the first time ever we've got refugee health nurses funded outside of the public sector, and we've got 2 nurses, both of whom are here today, which is fantastic, and they're concentrating on capacity building in general practice. And that's been a really, really good project for us. So we're hoping that it'll continue on and it'll be something that we can rely on into the future. We've had at the Refugee Health Service, we changed our name from the Migrant Health Service, which we were for 30 years, to the Refugee Health Service, which is quite strategic in these kind of confusing times of who does what and the priorities or the lack of priorities around funding in refugee health, particularly in South Australia. So it's been a really good thing for us, and it's given us sort of more, authority, if you like, to sort of ask for things and step outside and advocate. HAP-Lite has been really good, although sometimes it's a little bit hit and miss with pre-departure summaries. I don't know what others are finding, but I sort of find that you have to go right in there up till the last minute to see if there's anything on there, but it's really good having those. One of the things, and I think this is something in the context of what we'll be talking about today in terms of the refugee health nurse scope of practice and how broad it is, something that works really well for us within our team of, we're 6 refugee health nurses, is concentrating on portfolio leads. So within our team we've got, immunisation, women's health, child health, bloodborne viruses, maternal and child health, and rather than everybody doing everything, we've got portfolio leads, and those leads then become kind of key people within the health system for those issues within refugee health, and that's working really well with us. We've also had some real successes around developing pathways into the acute sector around things like audiology, dental and chest clinic, and developing some really smooth protocols. We've had a lot of interest from other services wanting to come and deliver programs from our site. So those are some of the wins. Some of the frustrations. We kind of got dumped with a whole bunch of community detention clients through IHMS this year. I don't know what it's looking like in other states, but with the offshore movement, and our kind of experience, although the client group is incredibly vulnerable and needs a lot of support, IHMS is very difficult and frustrating to work with for us. ongoing stuff with NDIS, and as others have said, lots of clients with disabilities and quite sick, and still just the forever kind of frustration around community GPs, and thankfully with Bridget and Muslim are working in the primary care sector and focusing on particular practices to sort of get them up to be refugee ready. But it just seems that is a never-ending process, because you think you've just got it licked, and then there's a changeover of staff, and then you start all over again, and doctors don't use interpreters, and they do 2-minute medicine, and there's it's just ongoing, and that's always going to be the case. Ambulance services in South Australia, we've had a real blow with. We did have a model a few years ago where ambulance services were free to new arrivals for the first 12 months, but we've sort of lost that, so we're doing a lot of advocacy at a state level to try and reinstate that, but that's ongoing. And we've also noticed an increase in the number of, or the incidence of family violence issues. I don't know what it's like in other states, but particularly with the Burmese and Bhutanese communities, and that's, I guess, reflective of a lot of the sort of post-settlement problems and frustrations, but it's something that we're really struggling with a lot. And as others have said, the hot and cold of the intake, so we're now looking at possibly getting 60% of our intake between now and the end of the financial year, which could be interesting, to say the least. Opportunities, continuing to develop capacity within general practice and supporting the ARANAP refugee health nurses to do their work. Continuing to develop in the acute sector. We just recently reallocated some resources within the service to take up a more of a coordination role at a state level around FGMC. So that's been a new thing for us, because South Australia lost its funding for the FGM project about 3 years ago, and there's been a bit of a gap, so we've been able to sort of respond to that, and continuing to work with undergraduate students, and particularly registrars. We have a public health registrar every year, but we've also had a psychiatric registrar, and it's really kind of working getting into the acute sector and into tertiary institutions to sort of support and influence the new populations that are coming through. I should have also mentioned under challenges is that the biggest challenge for us in South Australia is that we don't have any sort of a state refugee health plan or vision or strategic approach, and that's just an ongoing source of frustration, and without there being a national plan, that is always going to be like that. So that's it.
Megan?